There are places where silence isn't peaceful. It's a warning. I never believed in the eerie things people whisper about parking lots or empty streets. Not until that afternoon. I had parked in the empty lot, just like any other day. It was one of those quiet, sun-drenched afternoons when the air hung still, thick with silence. The only sounds were distant birds and the occasional hum of far-off traffic. The lot was empty, just as it always was. No one around, not a soul to be seen. I had errands to run, nothing out of the ordinary. But that day, something felt wrong from the start. As I made my way back to my car, a chill crawled down my spine. The door was wide open. At first, I thought I must have forgotten to lock it, but the more I looked, the more the situation unnerved me. The interior was untouched, nothing out of place, nothing missing. Still, something was off. My keys were in my pocket. My phone was in my bag. No sign of anyone. No one had been here. And yet, I could feel it. The sense of presence was palpable, like something or someone had been there just moments before. I glanced around the lot. Empty. Only the wind stirred, sending dust across the cracked pavement. I froze, staring at the open door. It felt inviting. My heart pounded in my chest. My first instinct was to check the back seat, but something held me back. It wasn't that I thought someone would be hiding there, but the thought that someone could have been watching me or was watching me now made the back seat seem suffocating, ominous. The door creaked, swinging open a little further, as though coaxing me closer, daring me to look. I couldn't explain it, but every nerve in my body screamed at me to run, and yet my feet refused to move. My heart pounded in my chest. My first instinct was to check the back seat, but something held me back. It wasn't that I thought someone would be hiding there, but the thought that someone could have been watching me or was watching me now made the back seat seem suffocating, ominous. The door creaked, swinging open a little further, as though coaxing me closer, daring me to look. I couldn't explain it, but every nerve in my body screamed at me to run, and yet my feet refused to move. A figure, standing at the edge of the lot I had just left. Too far to make out any details, but unmistakable, a man, or something that resembled a man, standing motionless, staring directly at me. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't look away. The light turned green, but my eyes stayed locked on the mirror. The figure didn't move, didn't react. Then, just as quickly as I'd seen it, it was gone. My pulse raced, but I forced myself to look ahead. Was it a trick of the light? Had I imagined it? The thought gnawed at me, and I couldn't shake the image of that still figure watching me. The drive home was a blur. I kept checking my mirrors, convinced that if I looked closely enough I would see something. A shadow, a movement, a presence that shouldn't be there. But nothing. Still, I couldn't help but feel like someone or something was following me. That feeling of eyes on me, invisible and cold, never left. Not even when I pulled into my driveway and hurried inside, locking the door behind me. The street was still, the neighborhood peaceful, but something was wrong. I could feel it, the way the world had shifted just slightly, just enough for me to sense it, as if it were out of joint and something was lurking in the cracks. That night, I tried to convince myself it was nothing, a coincidence, just my imagination playing tricks. But the thought of the door left wide open, the figure in the rearview mirror, and the overwhelming sensation of being watched wouldn't leave me. It followed me long into the night, like a shadow I couldn't escape. And then, just as I was about to drift off to sleep, I heard it. A soft, barely perceptible knock on the window. I didn't move. The shadow watched me still. I lay there, trying to steady my breath, my mind racing. The world felt too quiet, too heavy. But after several agonizing moments, I finally got up. I had to check. I couldn't just lie there and let it haunt me. Slowly, cautiously, I approached the window, holding my breath, waiting for the knock to come again. And then, nothing. The street was still empty. The quiet felt almost unnatural. I pulled the blinds open, scanning the area, and just as I was about to turn away, I saw it. A figure, standing in the middle of the street, still and unmoving. At first, I thought I was seeing things. Maybe it was just the darkness playing tricks on me. But as I stared, the figure didn't vanish. It stood there, watching. And then I realized it was the same figure. The one I had seen in the parking lot. The one from the mirror. Suddenly I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just watching. It was waiting. Waiting for me to do something. Anything. Waiting for me to step outside. I stumbled back, my hands shaking uncontrollably. That's when I understood I had never truly left that lot. The man, the thing, had been following me all along. It had been waiting, stalking me silently, and now I was trapped in its sights. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. This wasn't a trick of the mind. The watcher had been there, in the shadows, for far longer than I realized. And just as I turned to bolt out of the room, I saw him again, closer now, right outside my window, his eyes locked onto mine. The figure smiled, and then everything went dark.